Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
All right, we'll get the show started. It is 6:03. We'll call the meeting to order, and we will start with roll call. Christopher Sina, that's myself. I'm present. Aaron Farrell-Adamani.
Here.
Christopher Peguero.
Here.
Heidi Reynolds is not with us, but she may be joining later. She's having some IT issues. Sue Easterday.
Present.
Todd Brunner.
Here.
Joe Maldonado.
Present.
All right, we are all here, and we'll see if Heidi's able to join us in a little bit. We'll start with public appearances we'll start with approval of the minutes from June. Do we have any comments on the June minutes? And if not, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Were you just going to make a motion, or did you have a question? I thought I saw a hand.
No, I actually was thinking Patrick might come up and have something to say, so I was a little surprised. So our minutes are good? Wow,
All right,
I'm
awesome.
really happy
That is
passed.
fantastic.
I haven't commented on it quite a while.
All right, we're doing good. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 That was unanimous. So minutes are approved. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't believe we have any. Do we have any that I missed? Nope. All right, so we can move right on to review and approve the agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'll move approval. Or I'll second.
All right, we'll give Sue the second. All those in favor of the agenda as written, please say aye.
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 And that is unanimous as well. All right, so on to our discussion and action items. Start with item 5A or E1, depending on which copy of the agenda you're looking at, and that is the discussion and review of Highfield Reserve Parks concepts. So we'll start. We have some folks here from Viridian Homes and D'Onofrio Kotke. If you want to come on up and tell us about your proposal.
All right. Green means go, right?
Yep.
Good evening. My name is Dan Day from D'Onofrio Kotke and Associates representing Viridian Homes here this evening. With me tonight is Matt Saltzberry, who is a landscape architect with our firm, also representing Viridian. We're here tonight to start the implementation process for the next two parks at Highfield Reserve. So we're in the mid process of the development of that neighborhood, and we're getting to the point now where it makes sense to implement these parks. What we're asking for, similar to what we did for the Castlewall Park, and then also back on history with the Crescent Crossing Park, is the developer implements the parks and then use those funds from the park development fees as an offset. So we've got some concept plans that we've gone through with staff, and quite a bit of input from Eric and back and forth, and going through some things and trying to make them a better product for Fitchburg in the long run. I think is probably the best way to put it, and I think we've got some good areas, a couple of smaller open space kind of things, not traditional parks per se, coming up here that we want to present to you this evening, but we're excited to continue our relationship of developer implementing parks so we can get them done sooner for the residences and that sort of things. Just understanding the issues municipalities have at times with the timeliness of getting parks implemented. So anyway, we're here tonight to kind of present our concept plans, make modifications coming out of here. After that, we would then go to the implementation stage, which is an amendment to the SIA to allow for these to do this along with formal construction plans, bidding documents, and all those sort of things. So really, this is our first step on the public side of things to gather your input and feedback to us so that we know that we have have something that makes sense for everybody. So anyway, I'll let Matt then kind of run through what we have here. Thank you very much.
So,
Matt, if you just want to give me a shout out on which page to go through too, that'll be fine.
okay, sounds good. Thanks, Eric. So to give you an idea on where we're at, Highfield Reserve is located just to the southwest of McGaw Park. We've gone through how many phases now?
We're on about phase 5 or 6 right now of implementation and development.
Okay, we go to the next page, Eric. So within that development, we're talking about 2 parcels that are centrally located within the neighborhood. Outlot 10, which would be Fahey Park, and Outlot 6, which is Tipperary Park. Tipperary Park is a long longitudinal parcel, has a little bit of slope to it, and Fahey Park is a triangular parcel. Both have green fronting homes, so there's homes, an access path, and then the green space. We go to the next page, Eric. So looking at Tipperary Park, we worked with Eric and his staff to come up with something that they felt comfortable with, and Viridian Homes, their goals was to provide some opportunities for benches on concrete pads. We're proposing about a dozen shade trees within there, all compatible with the native plant management plan. So if there were to be a burn, we would have trees in there that would be, resistant to fire. Do we want to take questions on that one right now, or do we want to roll right through into the second one?
Jumping back and forth.
Okay. Then I'll open it up for questions.
Yeah, I have a couple, so I'll start us off if folks don't mind, then we can open up the floor. Couple things I wondered about when looking at this plan. I was curious about the sidewalk where it connects from the pathway over to
Notre Dame.
Yeah. I can't quite read the name of the street. I'm sorry. Oh,
It's Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
There we go. I was looking at the other street.
Yep.
I like the kind of change in direction. It kind of makes it more interesting, but I wonder if it might, because there is a sidewalk on the other side straight across from it, if it might sort of encourage a little bit of a desire path to be formed there, and if it might be easier also for, snow maintenance and stuff like that, just keeping it straight across the street. So I was wondering if, other than just kind of making it more interesting, if you had another reason for
I think that was specifically for ADA grade compliance. So it was actually
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
canted
quite
that
a bit
way.
of difference in grade there.
I would agree with you, it'd be better to be straight, but we had to.
That makes sense with the grade. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Very good. And then my second question here was for the bench pads. Would you anticipate those benches facing into the park or out towards the pathway? And I only ask because a family member of mine just had a bench put in on a park across their street, and it looks at her front door, and she's a little bit perturbed about it. So that's why I was asking.
So knowing where they're located, I envisioned them being backless, so you could access them from either side. I do know since the backs are up against the path behind there, it leaves it for some feeling of vulnerability, but for maintenance reasons, we didn't want to have a buffer in between that and the path. So we were envisioning backless benches.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Other questions?
Yeah, just in regards to there's 3 benches on the same side. Was there any thought in regards to the other side or other parts of the park? Just in regards to access, and I'm also thinking about shade access when hot times like we have now, and ability to maintain just a place of rest, yet you're not
Out of the sun.
getting cooked.
Yep. Those benches are flexible, and if there's guidance from you guys stating otherwise, we could move them around so that, or the trees we can move around to provide some shade. As far as putting them along Notre Dame Drive, that's the low side of the site. So, I mean, we were trying to put them up on the high side there, but if it's something you guys feel strongly about, we can take a look at potentially moving them.
The other thing, during the middle of the day, yes, those would be probably right in direct sun on at least several of them, right? But as you get later in the day today, there's going to be homes right there.
Yeah.
And so there would be some shade, later in the day, like in this time of a sunset, sunrise, where the sun's at.
Without like a deeper understanding of impact, it's hard to say where would be an alternative better spot. So I just was inquiring what your thought process was around it.
Yeah, let's keep them on the high side and then just into the park, yeah.
Other questions?
I'm in my new Parks Commissioner phase, so I can ask them questions. First question, I don't know broadly with parks, have we considered like edible landscapes, like having apple trees or berry bushes or things that like residents can come by and pick? I know that we've got one in Belmar Park. We've got like a set of apple trees there, so I'm just wondering if that's something we'd ever given consideration to. And then the other thing, not with this first park, I'm just curious about the name of the second park, like where that came from, Tipperary. I know I'm familiar with the Fahey name, but yeah, just those are my 2 questions.
I suppose, Mike, if I may, my comment on the edible landscapes is they are pretty exceptionally difficult to maintain, especially apple trees require some pretty stringent pruning priorities and upkeep to actually keep it going. If that is something we propose, I think we probably omit it from this concept stage, and if we want to include after adoption and build out of this would probably be the time to do it, would be my thought. That point, if there are, interested people who want to facilitate assistance on some of that, we do it at that point. So that's at least my thought.
Not related to this particular design, but I think in further conversation, I'd love to think about things like food forests, urban food forests, and et cetera. I know that we're probably all a little familiar with that, but the application of those across our park system as we think about access to just food or whoever wants to gain access, meeting nutritional gaps. But thought for a later discussion.
And Sue, I see you have your hand up.
Hi, yeah. First, I wanted to reflect back with Crescent Crossing when we created the concept of the park being implemented or installed by the developer. The idea was that then the developer or the association for the neighborhood was going to be maintaining the park, but it would be a public park. And so on that basis, that's how that got rolling, but it ended up having to be reversed for some reason. And so the city maintains the dog park there. And so one of the things I'm concerned about is that all of us be mindful again of any decision we say yes or no to is who's going to take care of it, who's going to do it. And we've got, looks like a 10-foot paved path between the park and the properties, each of them, that has to be plowed by staff. Now, a 5-foot sidewalk, then someone's got to come by from the city and clear the 5-foot sidewalk. It's really, really difficult. As much as I love prairies, it's really difficult to keep them in decent condition in a small parcel like that, unless you're using a lot of build hours and herbicide. And when we're talking about putting money towards prairie, then that money is better spent by the city in a large parcel where it's more successful, like McGaw, which is really nearby. So I would just propose that it all be lawn. They're both small. They're an acre plus a little. So it's that much more, as much as it's whimsical and lovely to have a mowed path through some native growth, I think it's the chances for being successful long-term without spending a lot of money forever are low. The other thing about mowed paths is the mowers don't come in clean, and so they may be somewhere where they've picked up seeds, almost assuredly picked up weed seeds, and then the mower runs and it kicks the weed seeds back into the prairie. So I think both of them should just be turf, and I think the people who live there will have just as much fun on them. And we'll hopefully have prairies soon in McGaw that are bigger and better with paths through that they can enjoy.
All right, so we can come back to your points once we get into a little bit more discussion and maybe approving the concepts, but I think if there are no other questions, we can move into just kind of a review of the next park plan, and then we can...
Sounds good. Moving over to Fahey Park, the Triangle Park, similar setup where we got the green fronting homes and that 10-foot path that runs along the fronts of the homes. Worked with Eric and his staff again on coming up with this concept. Again, using native plants throughout the bulk of the project. We've got mowed paths. We've got a cut-through path that allows people to get from Cobbler Road to close to the center of the bank of homes there. We've got one concrete bench pad, again, also coming through with shade trees that would be fire resistant. There is quite a bit of slope going on with this parcel as well. So what we have kind of set up in the lawn area is the bench pad set up on the higher side of things with everything coming down towards the other way there. So nice triangular piece of lawn where people can go to do whatever they'd like. Soccer, frisbee, baseball again. There's actually two benches, sorry. But that's kind of what we got set up for that one.
Any questions about this park? All right, I have one question kind of that pertains to both, and since these parks are being approached in that sort of in the method that the developer installs the park and then the city kind of takes it over, establishing the prairie, if that's a route that moves forward, is kind of like a multi-year process. Mm-hmm. And so how do you propose that process would work when it takes kind of 2-3 years to really establish it? It's not like to hand the key over like it is a playground, for example.
So I think our plan, and obviously this is subject to discussions with staff, would be to hire an ecological restoration contractor that would then maintain it for the 2 to 3 year period to make sure that it has the best chance possible to get to the point of being, what it should be versus what would just grow. Even though we put down the wonderful seeds and stuff, they do take maintenance. There's no doubt about it. So, I think, that would be part of the plan, is to hire an ecological contractor. We're doing that significantly in other areas right now, not necessarily on parks, but on stormwater management kind of things also. So yeah, that was something that's kind of in our repertoire right now of other things. So that's what we would certainly be thinking about here is that part of the process.
Okay, great. Thank you. If there aren't any other questions from commissioners, we can move on to resident comments and those who want to speak. Did you have something here? Okay. So one just wanted me to read this out. Patrick Cheney has a couple questions. I'll read out loud. For Fahey Park, is there any potential interest at this time for the institutional design site? And then the second question is, will the type of institution have any effect on the features installed in the park?
I'll answer that a little bit. There's nothing imminent on the parcel, on the institutional parcel to the north-ish, northeast, sorry. But we are certainly definitely thinking about what is on that parcel with this park design. And that's why you see the natives where they are with the trees where they're placed, being a nice buffer between those two parcels, and then the open space being more to the south, where you've got single family on both sides of that triangle, one's across the street and one's right there at the park frontage. So yes, it definitely was a play in how we were conceptualizing that park when Matt was putting that together. Did I say that?
Sounds about right.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both. Any other questions for them immediately? You can maybe come back up, but if not, we'll give the floor over to the residents. Oh, Sue, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
have one question. What is the soil like in the park? Is it the typical, all the topsoil was removed, everything was graded around, and now there's 2 inches of topsoil put back on? Or is it 5 inches deep of nice topsoil?
Yeah, actually, I was just through there a few minutes ago before I came here. And yes, the topsoil had been stripped from a portion of that area. We will fill it, but then we'll be putting back a minimum 6 inches of topsoil across the whole parkland before we go to any sort of restoration.
All right. Thank you. Okay, then I think I will go through these cards then in the order I have them. So if you'd like to speak, come on up and take the mic. And if you don't, you can just tell me to move on. But we have Megan Tabbitt wishing to speak in support.
Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, I just want to speak in support of this park. I'm one of these houses right along that would be facing the park there. I want to say I very strongly speak in support of the native prairie part of the park. I think it's very important to bring back native plants, not just to have all lawn, especially given this neighborhood due to the size of the lawns and houses. We have a lot of Kentucky bluegrass already. That's kind of what we're doing a lot in the houses. It would be really nice to have a big prairie part to it. I think that a lot of people would get a lot of benefit from fireflies, butterflies, all of those different things, little kids walking through, seeing monarch butterfly caterpillars, all of that kind of thing. So I just want to say I'm in support of this plan and very much the native part.
Thank you. We have Christine Fry also wishing to speak in support.
Hello. So I also live facing the Tipperary Park, and a couple portions of it, while I understand the concern about the maintenance of the paved path that's proposed, I feel very strongly about having an ADA compliant pathway from the sidewalk cutout on Notre Dame, whichever way you want to say it, up to the multi-purpose pathway. So that's one thing I feel strongly about. The idea about having the native plants, I agree with what Megan was saying. The lawns in all of these lots are very small, and the benefit just to the well-being, I think, like even like emotionally, I don't see it as whimsical. I felt a little insulted by the use of that term, being able to have areas with the native plants, appreciating the actual natural Wisconsin landscapes the way they should be, and bringing back to support for the pollinators. And she mentioned about like the fireflies. They're in like hugely drastic decline, and yet it's something that we grew up with and kids aren't seeing anymore these days. So those are, and the trees, and being able to have trees. Looking out from the front of our houses, it's just this very sterile green patch right now. And so there aren't even like the sidewalk trees that you get in a normal neighborhood. So just wanted to put in my 2 cents worth on those parts of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. We also have Brian Fry, maybe wishing to speak.
Good evening. Thank you for giving us this opportunity. I agree with the last two speakers. Something I find very important is in our particular house, we have a driveway that is not even the length of most cars now. So we have a 2-car garage, if we keep it tidy. And so we are anticipating if we have family, friends to come visit, they'll be parking along Notre Dame. And so I'd like to make sure that they have access to get through this park area so that they can get to our front door. And I'm not getting any younger, and so we have concerns about ADA issues. And so I think that's very important to address that. Otherwise, you've got a bit of a hike to get to visit those homes along there. Wexford is just a single car width in length, width, and so it's important to have access to from where people will likely have to park to get to the homes. I'm not an expert on the plants. It does seem to me as though native plants, one of the advantages you have when you plant native species into an area is they should require less care and tending because you haven't brought a species in that is expecting certain kinds of soil and weather, temperatures, precipitation, and so on. So they should, I would think, be able to settle into their new home successfully. And I'm not from here. I was born and raised in the Seattle area and am adjusting Federal Way. Anyway, but I understand the appreciation for people who say, gee, I was born 50, 60 years ago, and we used to go out and catch fireflies, which I've seen a couple now, partly due to my neighbors and the plantings they have. And I understand that, wanting to pass that along to future generations too, that, this used to be prairies. Now it's prairie, but you still have a sense for what this land was. I think that's important. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have anyone else in the audience wanting to speak to or ask a question?
I didn't register, but I'm speaking.
Yeah, come on up if you'd like.
I would ask
we
that.
We also live in the same neighborhood, and I totally agree. I think having a green space.
Sir, would you mind getting a form in the back just to turn it in, just so that we have records?
I was going to say,
you go.
yeah. If you do your comment, that's just fine. I just need to make sure that we have it afterwards for record.
Sure, I can do that.
Yep.
Okay. I'm also in agreement with our neighbors. In fact, my wife and I, maybe a couple months ago, were making some comments, knowing that across the street they have ADA sidewalks across the street. And it's like, okay, you got people that are getting up in age, they can go across the street, but they can't get up to the homes that are behind Wexford Way. So we were actually going to contact city officials saying, is there a plan to put a sidewalk connecting from that street to that multi-purpose trail, which that was one of the main reasons we bought in that neighborhood, was the multi-purpose trail. So definitely, to me, ADA compliance needs to be taken in consideration here, because if you look at that map, all those homes that are going to be built on Wexford Way, there is nothing that connects off of that street to the homes there. That's the only proposed there that actually gets through from that street to the homes that are on Wexford Way. So definitely my wife and I agree with the other speakers that we definitely feel this park is a definite plus for the neighborhood. I think it's a selling point for future people buying homes and selling in the neighborhood. And really bottom line, I think you have to be ADA compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I think we can open it up to take a motion if we want to approve the concepts or amend them. I'll entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve as brought to us.
I second.
All right. Any discussion on that?
I would just say that, not to minimize the size of the parks, but they are relatively small parks.
Mm-hmm.
And so the amount of additional cost for maintaining or establishing prairie, I think we want to increase native plants. We do have an additional park that's 6.1 acres, and I don't recall the amount of maintenance we have in regards to prairie there, but I think it would be a pretty easy additional cost as we have a growing park system, and we want to really, I think, set the standard for best practice for plants that we choose and how we manage the parks, especially towards more native approaches. So we're maintaining them with that characteristic. So that's my only comment and why I'm the motion forward to approve as is.
I'll also add to the discussion that everything Sue said about prairie in a small spot and kind of motor paths, it's all true. But I think that as we continue to develop, putting the prairies in larger spaces is going to become more and more difficult. And I think it's worth giving it a shot to try it in some of these smaller parks because it does really further a lot of our larger park system goals, that we set forth in the Parks and Open Space Plan. So it's certainly not ideal, but I think it's worth kind of experimenting with a little bit more, and knowing that there'll be professional, ecological restoration companies working on it. I really think that gets us started on the right foot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This I wouldn't propose staff do, as far as maintenance. This would be something that we had planned to budget for continuously. Some of these smaller prairies, to Sue's point and credit, they are some of these smaller ones are maintenance intensive, they are, but this would be something that we can't take on staffing wise, especially to that level if we are to do small herbicide applications. These ones are designed to be burnable, but smaller ones are. It is easier to facilitate a larger burn, at least in some cases, but this would be proposed to be a continuously contracted service for the maintenance of these natural areas. So it's just something we have to take into account as continued budgeting for it as well.
Okay, thank you. Sue, I saw you.
I have it. Oh.
I think Sue beat you to it.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. So the process of what we're doing right now is approving the concept as we see it right here. Is that why we're voting?
That is the motion, yes.
To collect comments. Okay. The question, I have an additional question about, as far as I understand that the oak trees are the only, I think just oak that are fire resistant. So is this soil something that can support oak trees for burning? And the other question is, what does it cost now for a similarly sized parcel to have it continually means like forever, so the continually contracted cost. And then are the neighbors going to be all right when they see that the herbicide signs are going up when it has to be applied? Thanks.
One thing I'll mention here too, Sue, when it comes to the species selection here, I would have our forester audit proposed planting species and assist with Viridian representatives to pick some of those species as well. To ideally pick what's the best case there. Regarding the soil composition, I can't really speak to that, but I would have forester input and oversight on species selection, at least to assist with it.
All right. Aaron?
My comment is to the enthusiastic neighbors of this park. There is a recently formed Friends of Fitchburg Parks, and I encourage you and everyone else to try and get involved, because I think that is a way for citizens to further this intention of having native plants, is to get involved in that organization and bring your ideas and where you'd want to participate. So I just want the residents to be aware that that's a way to move that forward. Thank you.
All right, is there any other discussion? All right, there's a motion and a second, so then we could have a vote. All in favor of approving the concepts as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye. No.
None opposed. All right, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to the next steps. We'll be back.
We do too. Thank you. All right, then we can move on to item 5B, which is resolution R8926. Eric, would you like to give us a rundown? And this is the approving the Hostahochee Park rental policy.
Correct. So this item was deferred for some recommended language review from our attorney administrative staff. The draft that you see now, or at least the edits and inclusions that are in there, was taken from the motion from Chris Pagero, reviewed by legal and administrative staff, tried to incorporate it as much as possible to that language based off of their recommendation and your motion to include it. I hope that's the case, that it fits what the legal team required, as well as still creates the intent behind the initial motion behind the inclusion of that language. That being said, acceptance of this would move to council approval at the next following council meeting, and that is what we have been waiting for, final reservation or renting of Hostahochee. So hopefully it meets the intent that was initially prescribed in that motion, and that's what I have for introduction.
All right, are there any questions for Eric?
Just quick correction on the...
Hi, Eric, this is Heidi.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Just really quickly on the resolution itself, the first whereas, it says the Hosto Park. I think there's just an error. There's Hochie is missing, so point that out.
Good catch. I didn't see that.
Sorry, Heidi.
Go ahead, Heidi.
No, not at all. I'm on the phone, so it's hard to know when to jump in. But I just have one question. Is this verbiage similar to the verbiage for all facilities and parks in Fitchburg, or is this different than other facilities and parks in Fitchburg? And if so, I'm wondering why we need different rules for different facilities.
So I can answer that at least to an extent. The community center, senior center, and library rental policies were used as templates for this. I think we discussed it initially as well, but this one is treated separately just due to the complexity of the facility itself, due to the kitchen, the learning session or learning rooms, technology that's present within it. So it being an inside structure would necessitate a little bit more robust of a rental policy as a typical park shelter would. So it is different in that sense, but it was initially mirrored from existing rental policies that the city has. Now, the exception here was the inclusion of the recommended language that was made for a motion at the previous meeting. So that is a differing section from other rental policies that exist within the city.
Okay, and my final question is the last bullet point there, where the city has the right basically to cancel any reservations. What would be a situation that might arise that would allow for such a cancellation, and who in fact would make that decision?
Oh, that's a tough call, Heidi. I would say at any point that they violate some of the previously listed sections, whether it be non-discriminatory, if there's a entity that would violate that in some sense, we would require payment up front, so I don't think it would be an issue of payment. But that's kind of a hard one to describe. If there's also no contact or facilitation with city staff, we would require a general walkthrough and opening and closing procedures for this building that we'd walk them through. So if there's omission from communicating with staff in that process, we would probably waive that rental. Any other circumstances, I'm not quite sure. Now, when it comes to actually canceling them, these people who are renting it would be in communication with either park staff or recreation staff going through our rental system. So if there is no contact, multiple city staff would be involved at that point. I would probably say canceling of that would be at the discretion of us, myself, our recreation coordinator, and potentially administration. But we haven't decided that yet, but it would be audited by several city staff members at that point, either to cancel or continue the reservation.
Eric, to your knowledge, have we ever done that before? Canceled a reservation?
In advance, not to my knowledge. I believe there are some cases where people are prohibited from reserving in the future based on some things that have occurred. I can't speak to specific ones, but from my knowledge, no.
So just some background. Well, first of all, I want to commend city staff and the attorneys that looked at this proposed language that came up with this. It does meet kind of what I was proposing at the last meeting. But at my time at Parks and Madison Parks, we did have one that reservation that came in, and then as we understood further what the actual reservation was for, we did decline it because it was not, again, under what the outline of that bullet point, result in damage to city property, materially disrupt city operations, violate acceptable laws, et cetera. So as we figured out and did more research, and we realized that actually, no, we're going to decline this one. So I think that would fall kind of as an example of something if we learn more about it, an organization, and is not necessarily truthful.
May I ask who the group was?
No, I can't share that.
Susan?
Well, I think that's important information in terms of, you know, what would account for.
We can chat offline.
Being a nuisance, I guess, or I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm sorry. Like, how do you know that they're not going to comply with laws in advance, or that they're going to wreck the place in advance? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I think the next thing, too, is this obviously would have to be assessed on a case-by-case basis. If something comes to fruition where it's like, hey, there's kind of a red flag here, if there were public comment statements, social media posts, whatever that may think otherwise regarding this group, that would be the time we could discuss. I would request, though, if it is discussed outside, please let me know. I would also be curious in kind of knowing what some of your thoughts are. I haven't experienced that, so as we approve this rental policy, that's something that we can consider as we begin receiving rentals of this facility. So at least would be nice to be included to see what an applicable example would be. But that's really hard to say what organization will or will not abide by the policy. So it's really kind of a hard call at that point that does need to be assessed on a case by case.
Yeah, it's really just a tool you need to have in your tool belt because you don't know what you don't know, and if something comes up, you need to be able to act, responsibly according to policy. Sue, you have a question?
Yeah, a couple. When this was proposed last month or the month before, Chris, you were beginning to explain it, and you mentioned something about something you were proposing might violate free speech rights, or something, and I was listening from home, so I wasn't sure what I heard, but can you explain that? It was something about free speech?
I don't recall. I think the question was, what do we, in regards to maintaining law and safety and the right to determine who can use the space, if it goes outside of that, would that be a legal issue around free speech? That I think was the essence of my question. And so I think, and how it's been outlined and how it's been addressed by the legal team and staff, I think it addresses all those questions.
That's what I was going to mention, Sue. Because this had legal review, I would feel confident that we apply by any laws applicable for this one.
Okay, yeah, because one of the things I've seen nationwide, and I, in one sense, really can't imagine it happening in Fitchburg, except for that I did go to the council meeting where they were discussing the police building, and then I saw a lot of people attending that meeting being very disrespectful, and the meeting wasn't that well managed, and I saw people leave who had intended to speak that were afraid to speak. So things like that can happen, and what I would be concerned about is if you have a group minding its own business, renting the inside of the building quietly, they're going to have their meeting of whatever they do, and outside of that, other people decide they don't like that group and they come to the outside of the building and start creating a disturbance, blocking traffic, throwing rocks, what have you. Communities have gotten in trouble when they've canceled the meeting going on inside because, in their words, they're not able to maintain safety or integrity of the building. So I would hope this would mean that the city would contact the police and clear people out of the street if there were protesting going on, and that the meeting going on inside would be able to continue, because that can be considered unlawful and a violation of free speech rights. And that my other point is that the resolution and the referring documents don't ask for this information that we're adding. And I think, to Heidi's point, those red new points should be reviewed and applied either as a separate council resolution and posted in each facility, or handed out with each rental, so that it's uniform for every rented, whether it's a community center or a separate park shelter or this building. It should be uniform, because when it's not uniform, that can also be considered discriminatory. Thanks.
I think if that is the discussion for other facilities, perhaps we discuss adoption across the board, but I think it would not be specific to this rental policy. What I mean by that is, let's discuss the one we have on hand. If we want to have cross the board adoption, we begin it, and perhaps we pursue a separate resolution through council. To your point, Sue, this one, I wouldn't let it hang up at that point. And if maybe it's the driving factor to pursue more change, potentially, I'm not quite sure. But that's at least my thoughts, is this would still be within scope to recommend this language based on what was requested within the resolution for Parks Commission to take a look at it. It would be appropriate to include that recommendation or that included language within this. So I think it's still within the scope of the initial resolution.
Hi, it's Heidi. I'm sorry. Just one more comment. Just to sort of piggyback off of what Sue said, I really have no problem with the language that's there, but I agree that it should be across the board. And I think that if we're going to adopt this strong of language, which I think is good, I think it should be tabled until we can make it more of a uniform policy for all of our facilities and all of our parks, and not just one park that is going to be different, one facility rather, I'm sorry, that's going to be different from all the rest.
All right, thanks, Heidi. I don't see, do we have any other questions or comments? Otherwise, we can, to that point, somebody can make a motion to approve this policy, and then we can bring, the others forward at a future agenda if somebody, feels that that's necessary.
I'd like to make a motion to pass this.
Second.
Second from Alder Maldonado. All right, so all in favor, please. Oh, actually, do we have any further discussion? I guess I should ask before we vote.
I just have a comment. I'm fine with this. I do hope in the future who can use it is expanded to include weddings, showers, parties, etc., given the nature of the neighborhood. But to get this up and going and rented,
right,
I'm in
certainly.
favor.
We always have the the flexibility to change things in the future, but we have to start somewhere. So, Sue, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah. So, with the motion as it is, I would end up voting no, not because I don't like either area. I just think they should be separated. I think the original work that was presented and drafted by Eric is in black, and that's what we should be approving. And then the additional in red should be something considered for all the facilities separately. So you understand.
All right, thank you for the background on that, Sue. We have a motion and a second, so we can take a vote. All those in favor of approving the resolution as it's been presented to us, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed, say nay.
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 All right, and the motion does carry. Thank you all very much for the great conversation on this topic. So with that, we can move on to item 5C, which is, this is just a discussion item, I believe. We do not need a vote on this last item.
I'll give some background here, kind of the process for it. So staff are required to review fee schedules every year. And that's discussed during the budget process. So staff were tasked with reassessing the fee schedules, and that staff, I suppose, recommended fee schedule change is what will be passed on to the discussions at council. So it doesn't necessitate commission review. However, what I have done is taken staff recommendations and kind of opened up the door for your guys' conversation on some of them, or recommendations or backing of those recommendations, perhaps pursue something differently within it. And that's what I can push forward to those discussions as the updated fee schedules are adopted. So hopefully that kind of makes sense procedurally, I guess. The changes that I did, I want to make one clarification. On the third page of the document, very, very close to the bottom, is the ultimate frisbee, lacrosse, and cricket. I highlighted any changes in yellow. That change is a correction. I did not intend to actually include that within there and keep that fee structure the same. So that $30 that you see there for non-resident ultimate frisbee should be retained at 25. So that's a clerical error that I wanted to clarify. If you don't mind, I can kind of go through some of the intent here and some of the reasoning behind it.
Sure, please do.
So in looking at past fee schedules, the increase rate for the fee schedules has been fairly aggressive, and moving forward in updating them the past couple years. I think that's needed to look at them on an annual basis and perhaps reassess with our neighbors within the community. I would make the claim that 4 or 5 years ago, we were probably low for a lot of neighboring communities, but I think the last 3 years, there's been this aggressive or updating process in the majority of our fee schedules, and I think that reflects in the minimum amount of changes that are proposed here. The only sections that I did edit was looking at additional or neighboring purchase cost for cemetery plots. That's a difficult one to say, hey, we should raise the cost on someone who's purchasing a plot. I understand that, but I do want to make sure that we are mirroring and in line with peers around within the Dane County area. So I've seen anywhere from $1,000 to upwards of over $2,000 for lots. This one I can see being an annually reassessed each year because I don't want to implement a drastic fee increase on a single annual year. Perhaps see a gradual increase as we kind of mirror some of those neighboring costs. The next ones that I included were specifically just on ball diamond prep. In looking at neighboring municipalities, we do have fees that are above and we do have fees that are below. But I feel very confident that our fees are in line and realistic and comparable with other municipalities in the Dane County area. The reason those areas have been increased marginally is due to reflected staff time and involvement. These are some of the highly involved staff times for ball diamond prep. They take various amounts of work, so I just want to make sure that our staff time is being compensated accurately, and this also includes stuff like fuel costs, egg lime for lining the fields. Again, our staff time is very valuable, and the more reservations we receive, the more staff time is actually pulled from normal maintenance duties and instead tailoring to the preparations of these fields, which is fantastic, and it's a great asset that we offer, but I want to make sure that we're getting I suppose, compensated equally and fairly for the staff time and materials that are associated with it. So that's the only recommended change in these areas, as I feel the rest of them are very fair and equal to neighboring municipalities. The other one that you will see is the inclusion of the tournament fee for pickleball. That was implemented via resolution earlier this year. I wanted to make sure it was reflected within the 2027 fee schedule.
All right, before we dig into our own comments,
Hi, Eric, speaking of
if you could
pickleball-
hold on one second, Heidi, just before we dive into it, we do have a resident wish
Sure, I'm
to.
sorry.
No worries, but Patrick, if you wanted to speak to this,
I'm
you can
sorry.
come on up.
Page 3 of the 3 pages of the fees, all on that one page. It's page 15 in your packet, or page 3 out of the 3. Several things on here. For one thing, where it says, I'll try to guide you through this. Soccer fields, it says McKee fields lined, all other fields not lined, and down says ultimate frisbee, lacrosse, cricket, lining not available. I find that odd because I think that those fields are lined already, and as long as the lines stay there, then they're fine. So I'm wondering if this just means that for reserving the field for a given day, that the crew is not going to go out and freshly paint them because the lines are already there, unless they need refreshing. I would say that that might be clearer if that's the intent, to just say in both of those lines, relined as needed, because if the paint is still there, just go ahead. Some other things on here at the top, it says ball diamonds, lights. This again would be clearer, I think, to point out that McGaw is the only one that has ball field diamond lights. So if it said McGaw ball diamonds, everybody would know, okay, that's the only one that has lights. Then when we get to tennis court lights, tennis court first. It says tennis court, and a couple below that it says pickleball court. I don't know if this is an idea that only the McKee tennis courts are rentable and all other tennis courts in various other parks are not rentable. That seems odd. Of why not? Same thing for pickleball courts. There are tennis and pickleball dual stripe courts all over. Does this mean only the McGaw pickleball courts are rentable and none of the others are rentable? That seems odd too. This would be, I think, clearer and allow the possibility of renting any court in any park if it said all tennis courts with a rental rate, and the same for pickleball, all pickleball courts rentable. Now, the tennis courts are listed as a 1-hour time block. The pickleball courts listed as a 1-hour time block. Last year there was a bit of a scrambling to reduce the pickleball courts from the 15 that was proposed down to 10 for resident. But nobody spoke up for tennis courts, and that throws in an unfair bias and preferential treatment to one sport over the other, which I think is wrong. I would not suggest raising the pickleball courts because you're going to have a bunch of people show up here again. I think that the tennis court rate should be the same and reduce it to the same as the pickleball courts. And they're both at the same 1-hour time block, so that would be fair to both. I would think that the $30, this is really, really small, so I can't always follow this. The non-resident $30, I don't see anybody is ever going to pay that. Actually, on the pickleball, it was reduced to 15. I don't know if somebody is going to pay, non-resident is going to pay $30 for a tennis court. So then, as far as, let's see here. I think the rate should be the same and probably the $10 residential rate. Now, as far as lights, not the ball field lights because they work differently, but the McKee tennis court lights and there's a listing for tennis court lights, which would be McKee tennis court lights. They're the only ones that have lights. There is no listing for McGaw, the only one that's going to have it, McGaw pickleball lights. There's no listing at all. Are they free? Why would that be? Because at McKee, you go push a button and the lights come on, and that's supposed to be the way, if they ever get it installed, that the McGaw pickleball courts will light up. What I would suggest is for where it says tennis court lights, make it McKee tennis court, McKee, well, let's say McGaw pickleball and McKee pickleball and tennis court lights. Make it for both.
Yeah.
Because they're going to both work the same. And just to throw a little information.
Sorry, we're way past our 3 minutes.
If you want to wrap up, Patrick.
Are you going to cut me off?
I believe that we should.
If you could wrap up, please, that would be great.
I am wrapping up. It would be fair to have the same application because the lights are going to work the same. And for your commission's information, they're playing pickleball out there without the lights actually working because the light in the courtyard and the pedestrian lights light it up good enough. They're playing there till 9:30, 10 o'clock and beyond even using those lights. But eventually there will be lights there. I would suggest not having...
We don't need to go through every single one,
This
Patrick.
is excessive.
I think
I have one more point.
Okay, please.
I would suggest not trying to charge $20 for these court lights because in both cases, you're just going to push a button and the lights come on. The only time someone will pay $20 is if they don't know how it works and they pay $20 and they go there and they see, oh, I stupidly shouldn't have paid that. All I have to do is push a button. What I would suggest is lowering this to $5 for the lights. And on an honor system, when somebody wants to reserve either tennis court or pickleball at the rec office over there, that the rec office people just ask them, are you playing like at 9 o'clock at night? Would you like to voluntarily, on an honor system, give us $5 to cover the lights and see if anybody says no? Because as soon as they learn there's a push button, they will never pay $20.
Okay. All right, thank you. As a reminder, anybody is welcome to come and use any facility at their own time when they want to. These are just for when people want to reserve them and have it specifically for their use. So, and then also, you know, as we see here, what, somebody...
Oh, no,
I was just going to say, and I would focus on the fact that we're only really, the only things changing from last year are the yellow things here, and they're pretty insignificant. So you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it is kind of my opinion. But go ahead.
So I'm just looking through the document, and I know that we passed a resolution to reduce by 50% the fees for nonprofit agencies, because I know there's a 2026 approved. So I'd just like to note that in the document, if we can make an amendment to that.
I can put it in.
Perfect. The other question I had, and this kind of came up, I'm going to give it a little context for why I introduced the amendment. So myself and I believe it was Alder Dantzler put an amendment forth to do a 50% reduction for any former H&I grantees. The current ones got the use of the space for free for the rest of the year, but we wanted to reduce it to kind of ease the burden on folks who we've worked with who have a good history in the city of serving the community. However, one of the things that council discussed was relooking at the fees for Hastahochi in particular and just making them a little bit more in line with other municipalities. And I know Trust Eric's done his research and has contacted a lot of municipalities. I'm just providing the feedback that I got from a particular agency, which is when they were looking at, say, Tenney Park, which has an indoor shelter, that I'm just looking at their rates and they look like some of the rates are higher at Tenney Park, but some are lower. So I just wanted to put it to the commission if we can look at being at least competitive with the level 6 shelters with the city of Madison, seeing as we want to encourage the use of Hastahochi. Their fees are For a half day, Monday through Thursday, $235. For a full day, $335. For a half day and Friday through Sunday, $445. And for a full day, $630. I think the only place in which we're cheaper is the Friday through Sunday half day fee. And I know we're looking at 4 hours and 8 hours versus half day, full day, so that might edge out a little bit differently, but I just want to see if we can potentially consider getting our rates down to equal or lower, because Tenny Park is a known entity. I think it seems like their shelter's comparable size to ours. So I just wanted to put that out for discussion with the commission.
Yeah, I think we certainly want to be, on par with our neighbors or competitive with them. Only one comment I'll add as well that Eric, I let you know before. I just noticed that the fees for House to Hochi say Fitchburg property owner, whereas the others say resident. So just a typo, a clerical error to update there. Others? Okay, and seeing as this is go ahead, Sue.
Hi. Reviewing last year's pickleball discussion, or not last year, this spring. Well, no, it was last year.
I think it was earlier this spring.
Tournament fees. Was it? Okay, okay, time flies, or doesn't. The tournament fee was something added because we didn't have any consideration of that. And so that took care of one of their concerns. Another concern was that they give the free lessons or offer lessons, and that's, I think, Capital Area Pickleball Association. And that was just, did we meet that concern by reducing the hourly fee? Is that how that was addressed? And then third, I'll just blare out all my questions and then sign off here. I thought that when we reduced the fees, that was for this year, and they were with the understanding they were going to go to match tennis for 2027.
I don't remember that particular part of the discussion, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I just don't remember.
I mean, that's something that can be proposed by the commission in looking at the 2027 fee schedule. If it was an alleviation from this year, that was an exception to the existing fee schedule. So if it's something that wants to be proposed for next year, I think you would have the availability to do that.
Do you want us to do that tonight, or is this just a discussion and then we talk about it more next month?
We won't have the opportunity for next month because this will be going to council on the 28th of July for discussion. So this is kind of the opportunity to bring up any revisions, edits, or anything like that.
Well, I would like to propose that they match the tennis one way or another. There's 4 people playing pickleball, so any fee you see there is divided by 4 per person.
Eric, how would the courts that are dual striped, we still have, we have 1 or 2 courts that are dual striped. So how does that rental work?
Good question. I'll describe how it works in actual practice. People are going to reserve them for pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, just out of ease, and it seems like most folks would probably be in agreement, maybe just for ease of operations, tennis courts and pickleball courts, meet at a equal fee. And
my clarifying question would be, would that equal fee be 10 and 15 for resident and non-resident, or would it be 15 and 30 for resident and non-resident?
I think we might have 8 people here and 8 different opinions, but I mean, I think the lower fee probably is fine. And I would also, say maybe keep it level for next year as you have on here, rather than bumping it up. Just keep them low, keep them affordable. And, we don't really, these aren't revenue drivers. They're just to, ensure that people get a spot. So
I will say, I mean, the tennis court reservations, I don't have the full reservation report for this year yet from the recreation department, but the tennis court reservations are significantly less that of pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question then. How does our pickleball now and tennis compare with other communities?
As far as reservation rates?
The cost. Yes.
The cost, and looking back at that discussion, earlier this spring, it would be comparable at the 10 and 15 to a lot of municipalities. So if we were to exceed the 15 and 30, we would be on the higher end of, Dane County municipalities for pickleball and tennis rates. That 10 and 15 was reduced, and that was about similar, yes, sir?
My only concern about lowering the non-resident pickleball courts would be that having an influx, since I know pickleball is huge in the region. I know there's a lot of options throughout the county, but I just want to make sure that our residents have kind of first priority. I know that's how the fee structure is set up. So I would propose we keep the higher 30 non-resident pickleball reservation fee.
One thing I will clarify is that 10 and 15 was passed via resolution for 2026. Just want to make sure that was discussed. The initial rates were the 15 and 30 in the 2026 proposed fee schedule, and then through separate resolution this spring, that's where it was reverted back to the 10 and 15, just for clarification.
Mm-hmm. Do we...
Hi, this is Heidi.
Go ahead, Heidi.
I'm sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
I wanted to just jump in and say I sort of agree with having the prices for tennis and pickleball be the same. It just seems cleaner.
Do we have consensus on that point? Or would you prefer we make a motion and vote on proposing that?
I'm still not clear what the price would be, though. I'm inclined to go as low as we can. I really agree. These are not to raise funds.
Yeah, currently pickleball courts are $10 for a resident and $15 for a non-resident, whereas tennis courts are $15 and $30.
I would go with that pickleball court price, pickleball and tennis.
And tennis, yeah.
10 and 15.
Yeah, it seems.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we won't need a specific motion for that then if we're generally in consensus.
Great.
Yeah. And I know I mentioned Hastahochi, but I didn't hear any feedback from anybody. Do folks agree or?
I would, yeah. I appreciate the work and thought that you put into that, and I think there's an equity perspective in regards to making sure that it's accessible, and that we're really keeping with the kind of the whole idea of access and making sure that it's accessible. So yeah, I support that.
Yeah, I think it's new. We're all very proud of it. We want to get as many people in there as possible. Get them to enjoy it.
I have a question about it, just so I understand. I didn't quite understand only certain nonprofits would get a lower price, or any nonprofit gets a lower price?
No, sorry, Sue. This for 2026, I proposed an amendment that passed that changed the fee structure for previous Healthy Neighborhood Initiative grantees, so that's already in place. But I'm talking about for 2027 and beyond, having a fee structure generally for Hastahochi that is in line with, it's called level 6 parks rentals in the city of Madison, which would include Door Creek Park and the John Wall Family Pavilion in Tenney Park. So I think folks are familiar with the Tenney Park shelter, but I would say that's probably one of the most similar in size to Hastahochi and quality. So I was just thinking we should have a rental that's kind of in line with what our neighbor is doing. Just so if we have people that are interested in renting, they're not like, oh, we can go for Madison for way cheaper. Like, I'd rather have our prices match theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, what do you think, Eric?
That's why I put in a line for Parks Commission recommendation here too. So my initial assessment is we don't have the data to really compare on how many people reserve or not. I mean, I agree with your point though too. It's fair. We don't have anybody renting it now at this point. Do we start at that lower cost? Sure. But that's specifically why I included 2 columns here. What I'll do is I'll include the Parks Commission recommendations in that extra column. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear too. It would be reflecting of level 6 of the City of Madison rental rates. And if you're fine with it, if there's additional discussion, by all means, go ahead. But I just want to make sure that I have everything we discussed thus far. So if I could start from the top. I did have $100 increases for each cemetery plots. I think that's something we assess on an annual value in the highlighted yellow sections. I have the adoption or recommendation of level 6 rental rates for Hostahoche, reflecting from the City of Madison. I have the ball diamond field prep increases for the recommended amounts here that I'll keep consistent with Parks Commission recommendation. The tennis courts from 15 to 30 to 10 to 15. And consistent with the tournament fees and the omission of that very last one on the ultimate frisbee section. Is there anything else that I am missing?
I don't think so.
No, my thought is it's better to have the spaces filled than not. And we all agree these are not real revenue drivers. I mean, we build the parks and the courts so that people can use them. So I think what we're doing here is a good idea by keeping the fees as affordable as possible.
I agree.
One thing we should keep in mind, though, I think this is how some municipalities get in trouble, is the fees are retained for several years, and then when we get to the point there can be a drastic increase. That's what I want to make sure we keep in mind as well as we go through this annual process. Small incremental annual or semi-annual fee assessments or increases to keep up with percentage inflation calculators, associated staff time, et cetera, is the way to do it, at least in my opinion, rather than waiting 5, 6, 7 years to where we're significantly out of line from neighboring communities and having drastic increases to residents. If someone's used to reserving the pickleball court for $10 for 10 years and we need to reassess that fee, I don't want to make sure we implement a drastic fee increase. So just something to keep in mind as we think about this annually.
Yeah, seems like a great thing to assess on an annual basis. Do you have all the feedback you need from us as a discussion item on this item? Okay, I think we'll move on. Future agenda items. Next month we'll be seeing the Kids Crossing design concept. That's coming for us in August. In the future we'll have Greenfield Park. Do you know particularly when that'll be? Is that August also? Or is that
we do have the staff report section.
Oh, I missed that part. I'm sorry. Back up to staff reports. I can't read today.
If you don't mind, I can highlight on a few things and open up the floor for questions.
Please.
Our parks maintenance staff, both parks maintenance staff, streets, and basically everyone within DPW is hit with some pretty extensive storm damage earlier throughout the month of June. We are still experiencing cleanup from that, as some of these trees and some satellite properties are not immediate needs within the terraces are addressed, those things to come up. And we also noticed dying dead branches within trees themselves. So staff are still assessing it. I do want to commend their response to it, both from our forestry staff, park staff, street staff, all of the above. It's a multifaceted effort from all staff. So when there is storm damage, the initial threat will be assessed, followed by our city forester review of said tree to make sure that it's either still within safe, sound, healthy condition, or if there needs to be further work to assess it to put it in a safe condition. So it's multifaceted involvement, and they got hit on two separate circumstances that required quite a bit. There were also the 3 new benches included at Southdale Park. These locations will not be impacted as we talk about future developments of Southdale. So that's the first thing that we checked, but those were installed. Our forester, like I said, participated in a lot of storm damage inspections regarding trees and their general health and condition. The urban forestry management plan reached its final stages at this point, which is the final grant payment process for the Wisconsin DNR, so that is complete. And lastly, our urban forester is certified for TRAC, which is Tree Risk Assessment Qualification. This is a pretty prestigious qualification to have, being a certified arborist. It's a very in-depth qualification course, so she was able to pass and receive that recertification for that. One of the things that I want to touch base on majority here is the first thing within the administration section. So administration was approached by the chamber and actually the Milwaukee Brewers to look at the implementation of a Brewers themed mural somewhere within the city of Fitchburg. Looking at, we kind of did site assessments, see what would be best. There were a couple initial perceived locations being the McKee Farms Shelter. We ultimately decided that since there were previous art installations on the north side of the tennis courts at McKee Park, previous discussion, we decided that would probably be the most applicable place to put them. Didn't necessarily see, so hopefully you agree, see the need for necessarily specific council or Parks Commission involvement at this point, but it's a definite community involved project because there will be the artist on site actually performing the paintings. They're not going to be painted off site and installed there. It'll be very similar to the layout of that previous art piece that was in McKee. So I encourage you within the next few weeks to pop down to McKee Farms, take a look at this initiative that's put forward by the Milwaukee Brewers, take a look at the actual artist live painting it, and I encourage you to do so. The Chamber of Commerce will be doing a unveiling at that point. We'll be informed of what that expected date is, of which I will share with you guys for sure. So I wanted to touch base on that regarding some movement and traction there. We have implemented park spotlight news releases. That was brought up a couple months ago. I think, Joe, I think that was something that you had brought up as well, being an initiative to do monthly updates on parks. So we are doing park spotlight advertisement pieces or communication pieces. We'll do that on a monthly basis or as projects commence. We're going to focus on feature-rich parks and hopefully also hit some of our non-feature-rich parks that many people don't even know about, kind of get some of that input out there. We are currently focusing on parks that have active ongoing projects, though, at this point, just to keep people informed of them. But this will be an initiative that we continue doing. And lastly, we kind of discussed it here, but there was quite a bit of research regarding parks fees and schedules and comparing other municipalities. Other than that, what other questions do you have that I can assist with?
They're just noticing some of the maintenance around graffiti at Ostahoche, and I look forward to really getting that park activated so that we can see less of that, since we've had a great investment there. And
one thing I want to commend staff on is there have been several circumstances of vandalism at Ostahoche. Their response to turn around and clean up and remove that graffiti has been extraordinarily quick on a lot of circumstances. So there's spray paint that has occurred. It is removed the next day. So I want to commend staff that that's removed. I don't want to have that connotation with the property. So it is addressed very, very quickly. I do want to report that if you recall, this is prior to my time, but there was some issues with fireworks in some of our parks. There are preventative measures that are in place for advertisement, signage, police department patrols, as well as some of our electronic signage at various parks that have been issues in the past. We had 0 reported damage or instances of vandalism caused by fireworks. There are some general fireworks uses in parks, but significantly less than was to be expected.
Thank you for the report, Eric. Also, just wanted to highlight the popsicles in the park event. One of our Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative committee members, Chibuser, worked closely with Jessica to organize it. It was a successful event that took place in Jamestown Eco Park. It was delayed initially from the 11th, I think, to the, no, not the 11th, the 9th. Thursday the 9th to the 25th. Yeah, because of the storm. But it was successful. We had a lot of organizations show up. Both Alder Herbst and I were there, along with members of H&I. So just gratitude to staff and also the organizations that came and tabled.
Yeah, great. All right. Now I can move on to the things I jumped ahead before.
Oh, sorry. And Sue was there as well. I wanted to point that out. She was had caterpillars eating the milkweed. So we learned a lot.
Great. Okay, so we'll see Kids Crossing. Now we can move on to future agenda items. We'll see Kids Crossing soon. We'll see Greenfield Park soon. Just a reminder about Kids Crossing is that we'll have the public input meeting next week. It's on Monday, I believe, Monday. So I'll be there. If anybody else would like to attend, please do. I'm looking forward to hearing people's opinions.
6 o'clock.
Yes, 6 o'clock on Monday. That's correct. Here in this room. Other announcements.
I can go through these,
Go
Chris,
ahead.
if you'd like. So there will be a ribbon cutting ceremony for the Chicory Meadows Athletic Courts that have recently been completed. That'll be July 21st at 4 p.m. That is at the park at the athletic courts. We are also going to be highlighting some natural area volunteer work that has occurred at Chicory Meadows the past several years. So we're also going to be spotlighting some of that as well. There will be a publication coming out about that, as well as a spotlight on this project itself. Mayor Julio Radafrado will be doing a brief introduction of the project itself, and we're anticipating to get some awesome footage and love to see people using it. So I will say that as soon as the nets went up before the project was officially cut and the contractors were still on site, people were using them right away. So they're already seeing significant use before we have this ribbon cutting. The PIM public involvement meeting for Kids Crossing is July 13th. We are advertising attendance of that meeting as much as possible, but if you don't mind, I kind of want to reiterate some of our planned public communication and outreach on what we're pursuing for this project. I do believe that we're going to receive the majority of our input through shareable responses, and what I mean by that is through distribution of flyers that take people to a link where they can submit their comments. The floor is going to be open to any and all comments, which I will compile throughout this public notification period. Those will be shared with all of you in the discussions at the August 6th meeting, which will take potential revisions to the concept as designed currently, and we are advertising it in various different avenues, and I trust city staff will do very well. I know we had several city staff members say they're going to be distributing to daycares. I want to encourage the sharing of parents, kids, solicit kids' input. If you have children, see what their thoughts are and input, and please relay them through that. So I think the next several weeks, I certainly hope that we have quite a bit of submittals of public comment on those designs. I want people to think creatively for them. Now, we will have a flyer, like I mentioned. This flyer will be distributed post-meeting on Monday. We are treating Monday as the introduction to this. What are the design intents behind this? What does this avenue look like moving forward? And that being our introduction for it. We will be receiving public comment at that meeting as well, so we'll have comment cards. And those will also be compiled, just like we will some of the online submissions for review. This flyer or document that I will say is just going to be a brief snippet of what we're looking for. We're looking for public input on Kids Crossing, and it's going to provide people the information and timeline to submit their comments. I encourage all of you, once it's sent out, to send that to anyone that you can. We will be posting physical copies at city facilities, at Kids Crossing, across McKee and several of our other parks, and then emphasizing and relying pretty heavily on the electronic distribution of it through our social media platforms and websites. But if there's anything that you guys can do to share it, please do so, and I'll share it with all the alders as well, encouraging that. So we're looking forward to it. Does that kind of make sense distribution-wise? Okay, great.
Absolutely. Any other announcements? No? All right, our next meeting is August 6th. We're back to our normal date on the first Thursday. Thank you for everybody and their flexibility with this one. And with that, I can take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
In a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. It is 7:30.
Aye.